Tanabata Manga.
I am Miyuki. I'm a university student who's living very frugally. I can't rent a place near my school because the rent is too expensive. So, I rented a room in an inconvenient and slightly far away area. It's a rural area, so a car is a must. And the landlord there is very kind and lent me one parking space for free, as I don't have any money.
Sure thing.
Then, one day, a strange car was parked blocking the parking lot. Ugh, I wonder whose car that is. I can't get my car in there. It's really in the way. I had just moved here and had no one I could call a friend, so I had no idea who owned the car and was wondering what to do about it. Oh, what should I do? Then the landlord came.
Is that your friend's car? It's been parked there for a while, but it's public street, so could you have them move it?
I told him I didn't know who the owner was, and in response he said it would be trouble because I wouldn't be able to park. The landlord contacted someone he knew who handled tow trucks.
Please.
Furthermore, we didn't want to get in trouble later for not knowing who the owner of the car was, so he called the police as well. Ah, the police.
The owner might come to the house, so please contact us then.
He told us. We gave them the details and the car was immediately removed by a tow truck. I thought the owner might come for it that day, but no one showed up. And 2 days later when I forgot about it. I returned home after my part-time job as usual and saw a blonde woman in front of my house. None of my friends I knew in college had blonde hair, so I approached her, carefully, wondering who she was. The woman comes into view as she starts kicking my car. I rushed over and was even more surprised to see a kindergarten-aged boy next to her. Ah! Excuse me! That's my car! Could you please stop? You! I had my car parked right here. Where did it go? And with that line, I knew this blonde woman was the owner of that car. Yeah, about that. The police had your car towed away. What? I just left it parked there for a little while. What do you think you're doing? You've got to be kidding me. The woman got mad and started kicking my car again. In a rampage, the woman told me that she was staying at a friend's house nearby. Then why don't you ask them to let you park in front of their house? They said I couldn't park in front of the house, so I looked for a coin-operated parking lot, but there aren't any around here. That's why I parked here for a little while. Thief, I want my car back now! I decided to leave her alone and go back to my house since my car had scratches and dents all over it, and she didn't seem like she was going to calm down. Ugh. Ugh. Hey, where do you think you're going? I ran back inside the house and locked the door but heard her banging on it. I was terribly scared, so I called the police to handle the situation. And right outside the door, Mom! Bathroom! I heard the child's voice. I can't hold it! I have to go to the bathroom! Hey, my kid wants to go to the bathroom, so let me borrow it. There's no choice. You're gonna have to do it here. After hearing that, I reluctantly opened the door, thinking that it would be terrible if he did it in front of the door. As soon as I opened the door, the mom walked into the room and started looking around, ignoring her child who desperately needed to go to the bathroom. The child was pale in the face and flailing around, trying to hold his pee. Please take your child to the bathroom, over here. You take him. It's not my house. In defeat, I had no choice but to take him to the bathroom. And when I came back to my own room, to my surprise, the woman had opened the cabinets and had my bag and other things in her hand. Anyway, I'll take this bag as a compensation for having my car stolen. And this, and this, and... this too. The woman was holding a designer bag and other things that I got from my mom and was about to take other things like cosmetics in the bag and take them away. This is horrible. What's wrong with this person? To be honest, I'm not really good at confronting people to begin with, and I was just overwhelmed by the sheer force of this woman. Please stop. Please. I can only say this in a weak tone. And just then, the doorbell rang, and then the police arrived. Whew-wee, thank God. You called the police? I'm telling you, you're the one who's gonna get arrested. You stole my car. Ignoring the woman who started yapping again, I let the police officer inside. And for whatever reason, the woman was sitting around lounging in my house with designer bags in her hand and her child by her side like she owns the place. The police officer didn't seem to understand what's going on, so I told him what had happened so far.
Parking a car without permission is illegal parking. Besides, what you're doing now constitutes theft.
What? That's impossible. She took my car without my permission. It's not my fault. I want my car back. The more she talked and ranted, the more heated the situation became, and the police had to call for backup. And there it was. Several police cars surrounded the house, and the woman was taken away to the police station. After the storm passed, I was left with my car, which had been wrecked. But I thought that was the end of the matter, which was a big mistake. Man. I decided to at least charge the woman for the repairs, so I contacted my high school seniors and asked them to help me out. Well... Later that day, we set up a meeting with the woman's parents and their lawyer. I was informed that the woman's husband was currently behind bars for being involved in the car theft case, so it would be the woman, her parents, and the lawyer who would be attending. What? The woman's dad said he would join us later after picking up his lawyer, and it was the woman and her mother who came into the conference room. The mother said, "Don't report the damage, because if you do, my daughter will have to go to jail. It's not like you can't use the car, so just put up with the scratches."
Excuse me, ma'am, what your daughter did is a crime, and I heard she tried to take her belongings without permission. After going to such great lengths, you want the victim to just put up with it?
You're an outsider, aren't you? I'm talking to the other person, so please be quiet for a second.
No, I am not an outsider. Besides, your daughter's car was not scratched or wrecked, and yet she caused this problem out of spite. If that's the case, patient might not be the right word for it, but shouldn't you have educated your daughter who caused this problem to be more patient?
You've never been a parent before. How dare you talk like that? My daughter even has a child. Are you trying to take away the parent away from the child?
We are the victim and your side is the perpetrator. Can you please stop shifting the blame?
The conversation was one-sided with the woman's claims, and things didn't go anywhere.
I hoped to hear an apology, so I set up this meeting, but it seems like you have no intention of apologizing at all. So, I will be taking legal action against you from here on out.
You're overreacting just because my daughter parked the car. Try it if you can. The meeting lasted about 2 hours, but the lawyer and the father didn't show up until the end. The woman saw me with my senior and probably thought we wouldn't make a big deal out of it. Thankfully, the university I go to is an actually well-known law school, and my senior is a respectable lawyer who works in a firm. After that, I was able to get a good amount of money for the repairs, and compensation for the inconvenience and other various things. What? The case was then settled by having them sign a restraining order as to not cause any further damages. But within the week, the woman and her parents came to see me. Of course, I didn't open the door and called the police as soon as possible, but I was horrified to hear them cursing me and kicking the door on the other side. After that, the 3 of them went behind bars and I was able to buy a new car with the settlement money. My senior advised that I should move out because the 3 of them might come back, and so I decided to move out. The fear of having the front door slammed was so traumatic that I decided to live in an auto-lock apartment. Although the rent is more expensive, but thankfully I had the settlement money with me.
Nice place.
After 2 years of dating and a year of marriage, I found out I was pregnant. Hey, listen. So, I went to the hospital today and there was a baby in my belly.
Really? Yes.
My husband and I had been talking about having kids since we got married, so he was very happy when I told him I was pregnant.
My husband and I worked for the same company, but I left when I got pregnant.
After 3 months of pregnancy, the morning sickness had subsided, and I was enjoying a relatively peaceful pregnancy. My belly gradually got bigger and bigger, and by 8 months, I had a huge belly. And shortly after that, my husband's behavior changed. Hey, honey, touch it. It's already moving. When I say this, my husband always looks disgusted and runs away. And to top it all off,
You're getting pretty fat, aren't you? Will you get back to normal after the baby is born? I don't want a fat wife.
I was shocked by my husband's words. Fat? I'm carrying our baby. How can you talk to me like that? Unlike me who has a baby in my belly, my husband, who is a man, certainly may not feel the same way when he's told we're having a baby. But even so, I was hurt by those awful words. And then when I was at 9 months, I got a call from a friend who told me the shocking truth. Nanako, how are you? How's the baby in your belly? Ako, hey, it's been a while. I'm fine, and I'm going to be in the last month of pregnancy next month, and my belly is getting bigger, so it's hard to move around. I see. Well, I didn't want to worry you too much, but I thought I'd better tell you. Tell me what? There's a rumor going around that Tano is having an affair with one of the receptionists at our office. And there are several witnesses. Some of them even saw him going into a hotel. What? No way! I'm sorry, I know you don't want to hear this because you're pregnant and all, so maybe I shouldn't have told you, but I thought it would be better for you to know. Oh no. Thanks for telling me. I was listening to my friend's words and remembering what my husband had said to me. I can't believe he would say those horrible words to me while cheating on me. So, what's she like? Do I know her? I think you know her. It's Sea Beauty. Remember, she's got that flamboyant look and always wears revealing clothes. Oh, I certainly knew Sea Beauty, and I'd never talked to her. But I had seen her before. Let's go somewhere after this. She was always flirting with male employees, and I'd heard stories about her two-timing. Okay, a lot of people who saw them said they saw Tano and Sea Beauty on a date, arm in arm. Some also said they saw them kissing in the car. I was so angry from the depths of my body. Speaking of my husband's car, it was the one I've been on. I'd been in that car so many times, even for medical checkups, and to think they were kissing in it made me sick. Someone saw them going into Sea Beauty's house, you know. Sea Beauty's house is near the office, and it's a pretty visible entrance, so... yeah. With so many witnesses, did they even have any intention of hiding it? I thought they were idiots, or on the contrary, they might have been trying to show off their happiness to everyone. Either way, I thought they were insane. Thanks for telling me.
No problem. Are you okay?
Yeah. To be honest, with my feelings in a mess and a baby on the way, I didn't know what to do. So I decided to question him for now. You! Is it true that you cheated on me?
I'm sorry, but You know your belly is getting bigger and bigger. I can't look at that belly and see you as a woman. I'm scared. To be honest, can you go back to the way you were?
I'm done. Your baby is growing inside my belly. Of course my belly would get bigger. And that doesn't mean you can cheat on me.
Because you're not the same person you used to be. And you always look like you're struggling and you're no fun to be with. If you want me to like you, you have to try harder too. Put yourself in the man's shoes. I can't help it if my feelings change.
My husband said so and gave me one excuse after another. That's enough. I'll get the divorce papers tomorrow and you can fill them out. And that's it with you.
Wait a minute. Why does that lead to divorce? What? You're overreacting.
Of course it would. Anyway, I don't want to see you, so I'm going back to my parents' house. Also, I'll be sure to tell our parents about this. When I went home and told my parents, they were rightfully furious. Especially my father was so angry, and
Break up right now.
it was as if he was going to my husband's place to punch him in the face. I wanted to as well, but the baby is on the way and I quit my job. It was a headache for me to think of divorce in this situation. The next day, my in-laws called me and said they wanted to talk. Oh, mother-in-law. I'm in debt to my parents-in-law, so I can't be indifferent to them. And I also agreed to discuss it with them. When I returned home, my in-laws and my husband were already there. And soon after, my father-in-law.
I'm so sorry for this foolishness. Please forgive me, as you can see.
That's right. My father-in-law, husband, and mother-in-law were on their knees. I'm sorry, but this is unforgivable. Above all, I can't feel any remorse from him at all. When I questioned him about the affair, he made it sound like I was in the wrong. When my father-in-law heard those words,
You stupid idiot.
and hit my husband as hard as he could, I saw it and thought nothing of it.
Ouch!
To me with a big belly, your son doesn't even feel bad about cheating. He said that the other woman and I have different looks, that my big belly was scary and even called me fat. All of those words to me, who's almost about to give birth. Hearing those words, I realized that I don't want to be with this man as a married couple. And I won't let him see our child, but I will make sure he pays alimony and child support every month. When I said that, my mother-in-law, who thought she could hold her grandchild, broke down in tears. My father-in-law also cried, saying he would do anything to make amends, and at least let him see his grandchildren. Seeing his parents break down in tears, my husband must have finally realized that he was wrong.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's my fault. I swear I'll never say anything bad again, so please, just give me one more chance. And you'll go back to the way you were if you have the baby, right? I can love you again then.
You're still talking like that. That's how you were born too, you stupid son. Idiot.
I'm sorry, Nanako. I had no idea my son was such a fool. He'll pay you the alimony. I'm really sorry.
I like my in-laws, so I felt bad, but I just couldn't bring myself to start over with my husband. I'm sorry. After the divorce with my husband was finalized, I was able to receive alimony and child support in full. And after that, I sent a copy of the divorce decree to C Beauty's workplace and received 3 million yen in alimony. What is this? She thought the rates for alimony would be around 500,000 at most and took it easy. But it being much higher than she expected, this is ridiculous! It's a ripoff! She went berserk. The lawyer did his best to recover everything, as this was a case of adultery while I was pregnant.
Leave it to me.
Naturally, Sea Beauty was fired by the company. Whatever. Although at the time of quitting, she said she was totally fine because she would find a job soon. But a friend told me she still makes a living working a part-time job. You want to order? By the way, my parents paid for everything, including lawyers. I was in the last month of pregnancy while struggling with the divorce, and the baby was born earlier than expected, so my parents didn't want to tie me down any more than I already was. So I really appreciate my parents, although my ex-husband's unfaithfulness, which I didn't expect, turned me into a single mother before the birth of my child. Thank you. With alimony from both sides and child support from my ex-husband, I think my future will be bright. Oh, he smiled. Look. Wow. My former in-laws would have loved to see their grandchild, and I would have been willing to show them. So there was a certain option to start over with my ex-husband. But the words he said to my face when I had a baby in my belly were unforgivable.
Go away. You're fat and gross.
And I knew that even if I start over with my ex-husband who cheated on me, it would never work out, and I would never forget the feelings I had at that moment. I heard a rumor that my ex-husband and in-laws are completely insulated because of this, but I don't think I can do anything about it, because it's the seed that he sowed. Ugh, I don't want to see you. I am a housewife and live with my husband and in-laws with our 5-year-old daughter. My husband is old-fashioned, perhaps because of his father's influence.
Where's the food? How dare you make us wait when we come home after working outside the home? You're just a woman who's supported by her husband. Don't tell me you're too lazy to do the housework.
My husband and father-in-law always do this just because the food isn't ready at exactly 7 p.m. My husband was kind before we got married, but then suddenly changed when we did, and then I became a housewife. And my mother-in-law and I live in constant fear of the two of them, who yell at us every day whenever something happens. My husband works for my father-in-law's company, so I only have time off when he goes on business trips. And to tell you, I was exhausted by my husband's constant arrogance.
Where are the chopsticks and tea? Yuki, you're a woman too. You're supposed to do the housework.
I'll do it. Just don't yell at Yuki.
She needs to learn how to do the housework from a young age, or she won't be a good woman.
But she's only 5. Don't push her.
Are you going against the man of the house? Stop getting so cocky.
At a sudden burst of anger, my husband throws the chopsticks at me. I picked the chopsticks in a hurry and headed to the kitchen to escape. I can't live like this anymore. But I can't worry my parents. As a woman living in a man's world, I can't even make a living as a housewife, taking my daughter and leaving home. I had to endure every day, even if it was hard. Then one day, I had to take my mother-in-law to the hospital. So I asked Yuki, my daughter, to stay at home because the examination would take some time. Yuki, sweetie, the snacks are on the desk. Be a good girl, okay? Okay, bye, Mom. And to my horror, this was a big mistake. When I came home, the living room was empty. The drinks, snacks, all of it were still there. But Yuki, I thought maybe the 3 of them had gone out somewhere, but the shoes were still in the entrance. And so I went out into the yard and found Yuki lying there. Yuki, what's wrong? Yuki was covered with lots of laundry and clotheslines. Mom, sorry. The laundry. I saw the bruises on Yuki's face where she had been hit by the clothesline. I rushed to help her and headed to the hospital. Fortunately, there was no bone or brain damage, only minor bruising. But when I asked Yuki about it, I found out a terrible truth. When Yuki realized it was starting to rain, she decided she needed to get the laundry in, so she told my husband.
You're a woman. Do that on your own. You're interrupting my day off.
He said. Yuki tried to do something on her own, but there was no way a 5-year-old could handle heavy clothes soaked in the rain. And that's when the clothesline came down and hit her in the face, and she got stuck underneath. I'm sorry, Mom. I ruined the laundry. We can wash the laundry again. I would rather not have you get hurt, Yuki. So even if Dad says something, you don't have to do it, okay? And then I hugged Yuki, who was crying and apologizing. When we got back home, my mother-in-law ran up to me, worried to see her granddaughter with a poultice on her face. But I still couldn't find my husband and father-in-law. When I went upstairs, my husband and father-in-law were both taking a nap in their bedrooms. What do you think you're doing? Yuki got hurt because of you.
Nonsense! Is that something worth telling me when I'm sleeping? You're the one who didn't teach her how to do the laundry. How dare you complain to your own husband? How many times have I told you that housework is a woman's job?
Duh! I'm done with this. And finally, I came in contact with my senses. I decided to get a divorce and gathered evidence of verbal abuse and violence, then consulted a lawyer and then my parents. And then one day, after all the evidence had been gathered, I'm sorry, my back really hurts and I need you to take me to the hospital. My mother-in-law, who had been suffering from worsening back pain, asked me to take her in tears. I decided not to take Yuki with me because a cold was going around. Honey, you don't have to listen to your dad. If anything happens, call Mom's phone, okay? And then I left Yuki behind. Fortunately, the hospital was empty and she was able to get examined quickly. My mother-in-law was admitted directly to the hospital to rest. I arrived home and was putting my car in the garage when I received a call from home. Hello? Yuki? Did something happen?
Mom, Dad and Grandpa are crying because some stranger is mad at them.
Okay, honey. Thank you. Just wait a little bit longer. I wonder who the stranger is. I cautiously opened the door to the house and headed into the living room. When I looked inside, there they were. My husband and father-in-law sitting on their knees crying. What happened? Oh, President.
Welcome back. Sorry for coming in. How's your mother-in-law?
The man in front of my husband and father-in-law was the president of a large company that does business with my father-in-law's company. I remember his face because I met him several times. My mother-in-law was overworked and should be hospitalized and rested. But more importantly, what's going on here?
Dad told me to make tea for the president, but when I brought the tea from the fridge, he told me to make it hot. I told him that Mom said not to touch hot things because it's dangerous. Then Dad got angry and tried to hit me. Then the president got angry and made Dad and Grandpa cry.
I told you many times not to let Yuki do anything dangerous. What if she gets burned?
You let your young daughter do this all the time? This is abuse. This is absolutely unacceptable.
After hearing me say that, the president glared at them as if he was some demon. My husband and father-in-law flinched at his glare.
But men work outside the home, and it's perfectly natural for women to do the housework. It's not abuse, it's discipline. That's right. At home, men should just stand tall. Absolutely not.
The president's thick voice coming from his stomach silenced them once again.
Supporting each other in life, that's what marriage is about. That's what husband and wife are supposed to do. If you don't rest, of course you'll break down. Can't you even understand that? I heard your wife is in the hospital. Isn't that because you made her work too hard?
That's right. I told him the truth, not caring about my father-in-law who was glaring at me. My mother-in-law has been doing the housework without a break for the past 40 years since they got married. And even if she took the slightest break, my father-in-law and husband would verbally abuse her. Her body is in bad shape and her heart in shambles.
If you say women have to do housework without a break, then you were ready to work for 40 years without a break, aren't you? No, that's different. Were you forcing your wives to do what you can't do? I don't want to continue doing business with such a coward. Our contract expires at the end of this month. No! Our company won't last if that happens. I can't work with people I can't trust. If you two are willing to repent for what you've done and show some sincerity, then I'll consider it.
The two were in a panic at the talk of their contract suddenly getting terminated. If it were known that the contract was cut because of these family matters, the employees' trust would be ruined.
I'll do it. I'll get on my knees or whatever. That's what they're saying. But do you have any proposals?
I immediately responded to the president, who quietly asked me. I want a divorce, alimony, and child support. And father-in-law, please, let your wife go. Also, I'm leaving home with Yuki and my mother-in-law. They were surprised that I had said this, but their faces gradually turned red with anger.
Don't play dumb with me. Stop getting ahead of yourself. You're just a woman. Who's gonna listen to you?
The two of them, who were yelling at me in their usual tone, turned pale when they noticed the president's cold stare.
I seen your sincerity with my own eyes, and our contract ends this month.
And then, finally, the president left, leaving the two of them stunned. I, along with my daughter, decided to leave the house. The divorce finalized with alimony and property division using evidence that I had gathered. Later, when my mother-in-law came home from the hospital, we discussed the future. Do you want to go back to that life? I asked her, and she said she would rather divorce my father-in-law and live with us. A short time after the three of us left home, I began to receive voicemails from my husband.
Would you mind taking out the trash? I haven't washed my laundry in days, and there's bugs in the house. Come back. I'll forgive you if you come back.
And to my surprise, my ex-husband hasn't changed at all. I am now happily living with the three of us in a cheap company dormitory under the president's company. And I heard that my husband's company, after being cut out of the contract, is now in financial trouble. They must be struggling with reduced income. And of course, I have no intention of going back to the house with them. At best, I hope they live with the hardships of women's work, which they look down upon. It's been a few years since I got divorced. I know I wasn't mature enough, but at that time, this was the only way I could think of to get back at him. I was 36 years old when I married my husband, who was 3 years younger than me, and I was in a hurry because I was at the age where I felt like I had to get married. My partner of many years cheated on me and broke my heart, so I went on a blind date with my last hope. Then to my surprise, my current husband approached me. As for me, I thought there would be no more next time, so it didn't take long for the marriage to be finalized. My husband at the time was refreshingly handsome. He played rugby until his late 20s, a burly gymnast, macho and cool. My husband was the eldest son, and there seemed to be a lot of pressure from his parents to get married. So, things proceeded quickly and we had a wedding at a big hotel. He was so kind in the beginning. He took care of every little thing during my pregnancy and took the initiative to help me with the housework.
Are you okay?
He took time off to be present during the birth and rubbed my back the whole time. And when the child was born, he was so moved he began to cry.
Thank you for giving birth.
And even thanked me. I thought I had a happy life that I could brag to everyone about, but that happiness didn't last long. It was one evening when my child had just turned 1 year and 2 months old. The child was obviously acting strange.
He was coughing in pain. At first, I thought it might be a cold, so I took his temperature, but he didn't have a fever. I decided to keep an eye on him for a while. But it quickly turned into a wheezing, breathing sound, and at the same time, his lips turned purple and he lost consciousness. It was cyanosis. At the hospital, where he was rushed by the ambulance, the doctor told him he had severe childhood asthma. And then my husband's attitude changed the night he learned this fact.
You gave birth to such a frail child. That's the problem with old women like this. They have rotten amniotic fluid and can't give birth to good children. I shouldn't have married an old woman like you.
He told me. I couldn't believe my ears. Where did my old husband go? The reality in front of me must be a dream or an illusion. I was so shocked that I really thought so. Since then, my husband started coming home extremely late. Every day when he came home, he would reek of alcohol. My husband transformed into a cabaret and sex-obsessed maniac. And according to him,
I can't bring myself to do it with an old woman like you.
Meanwhile, I carried my child's problems all by myself and I was exhausted every day. But despite this, my husband would come home drunk in the middle of the night and frequently demanded for my body. And here I thought he wasn't interested in old women. I refused him because I was so tired.
You gotta be kidding me. Who do you think married an old hag like you?
He forced me to take off my clothes. I had no choice but to think about something else while doing it, since he could have beaten me if I refused. The saddest part is he would do it with no love, as he was satisfied after finishing on his own. When our kid was 2 years old, my husband would come home only at midnight most of the time, and often did not come home until morning. He will only come home to change clothes because he had work. And my husband's 100%, which has been foreshadowed for some time, escalated day by day. And when he came home after midnight, he suddenly woke me, and when I turned on the light, he was so furious.
The slippers weren't aligned.
This seemed to be the cause of the problem, as he brought the slippers inside and threw them at me. Ow!
A slipper can't hurt you. This is what it means to get hurt.
And then he hit me so hard my face got bruised. And when I made him coffee in the morning, he drank it in such a hurry that he burned his tongue.
You did that on purpose.
I didn't.
You're lying. You should feel how hot it was.
He poured that coffee all over me and I got a minor burn. Still, with a sick child and unable to get a job, I could not disobey my husband, who gave me a living wage. I had no choice but to accept it in silence. Then, one day my husband gave me my living expenses, but it was only 10,000 yen. What? That's it?
Huh? What do you mean, that's it?
He was already so furious.
All you do is stay at home, so that should be enough. Just keep the kid fed with your breasts.
And seeing my husband laughing as he headed off to work, I realized that I ran out of patience. I put down the divorce papers, packed my bags, and called my parents. I decided to get a divorce. My parents clamored for an explanation. I'll tell you more about it when I get back. I hung up the phone and went to my husband's room. I was not allowed to enter his room, but I went in and looked around. It was a world I didn't know. It was piled with dazzling designer items and porn-related goods. Now that I think about it calmly, I should have taken them and sold them to a second-hand shop as a consolation prize. I couldn't think of anything else at that time but to take revenge on the things my husband cherished. And then, although he wouldn't realize it right away, I thought of a way to take revenge that would eventually hurt him. First, I stretched the collars and cuffs of his designer sweaters that he kept in his drawers until they were completely deformed. I made an abomination of the embroidery of the logo that had been attached, trimming the embroidery thread on the back with scissors. The surface was reattached with water-based bond to barely keep the shape of the logo. It would be ruined once you take it to cleaners or wash it.
I also cut the threads of the handles of some of the expensive bags, and the handles come off as soon as you put on a moderately heavy load in it and lift it up. And I also drew lines with a ballpoint pen between the stripe patterns on shirts that he likes and wears often. I loosened about 3 centimeters of the seam under the armpit, so when he lifted his arm, there would be a gaping hole. Then I broke every other umbrella bone, which were all expensive designer products. Also, I switched the insides of every erotic movies he owned with Disney DVDs. I also cut off about 3 tassels from each scarf to make it look like a gap tooth, and I restitched 1 button on the coat with a single thread so it would come off easily. I filled the unopened erotic lotion with kitchen detergent by breaking the seal and putting it back in the box again. After those vendettas were over, I took my child and immediately left the house and headed to my parents and told them everything that had happened and showed them the medical certificates I had so far. My parents never liked the act of divorce to begin with, but seemed to change their minds when they heard about my condition. Well, I think the main reason they don't like it is probably for my child. Then my parents hired a lawyer and my husband was ordered to pay alimony and child support in a lump sum. At first,
You gotta be kidding.
he was so angry, but as expected, he couldn't win against the law and ended up paying me. By the way, 2 weeks later, I received countless phone calls from my husband. He probably realized what I did.
You gotta be kidding me. You know how much I've been embarrassed? You ruined my stuff. I'll never forgive you.
And received various other insults, but I blocked him after finding out how humiliated he was. Later, when my oldest son entered elementary school, I was able to start working just a few hours in the morning. At the time, my brother's family was living with my parents, so I couldn't stay at home forever, and I decided to live with my kid, despite both my parents and my brother telling me that I could live with them. By the way, after the divorce, I had a restraining order against my husband, so no matter how angry he got, he couldn't get near me. While I escaped from my husband's domestic violence and found a peaceful life, there was a part of me who wanted to take a close look at how my husband had gone down. Here's the story of me when my sister-in-law was a hero. From my sister-in-law's view, I was a married and younger sister-in-law, but she had always looked out for me. The other day, I went to the field day of my nephew who's in kindergarten, but for some reason, the mother-in-law who wasn't invited was there. That was incident 1. Wait, this person. I had heard that she wasn't a kind person, but she came without an invitation and ignored my greetings. And to top it off, she said to my husband and I, hi, I'm your daughter. Oh, you're my daughter's brother and wife? Uh-huh. She just kept looking us up and down. Honestly, worst first impression. My sister-in-law and her husband also told her to go home, but "You got this, grandchild!" She ignored them and wouldn't listen. There were a lot of people around and we couldn't do anything, so we just held it in. We treated her like she wasn't even there. Grandchild! After the field day was over, we had plans to barbecue at my sister-in-law's house, so we dropped off our stuff and headed to her yard. It's been a while since I barbecued. It must be nice, having such a big yard. Someone was already there and had started a fire in the grill. Wow, someone already got it ready. Looking back at my sister-in-law and her husband, they were a pale blue. What's going on? When I asked why, they were shocked.
Who did this?
They were trembling. Apparently, they hadn't invited anyone other than us to go to the barbecue, so... What? Then who did it? We were pretty panicked. Someone behind us was shocked. What? Why are you already home? The field day is until the afternoon, right? When we turned around, Reiko, the sister-in-law's husband's brother's wife, was there.
What are you doing in someone's yard?
My sister-in-law's husband asked her. I heard that you guys were going to be on a field day, so I figured the house was going to be empty. That's why I borrowed your yard and invited my friends to have a barbecue," she said, nonchalantly. "What? You're coming into someone's house and using their grill without their permission?" he said, clearly shocked. "We brought our own grill, but there happened to be a grill that wasn't being used in the shade with charcoal already in it, so we just used that instead. The grill was prepped beforehand by my sister-in-law so that we could immediately start our barbecue as soon as we got back. I was going to wash it and clean up before you guys got home so you don't have to be so angry. Gosh. More importantly, why the hell are you home so early?" She actually started getting pissed. Then her friends that were buying things for the barbecue actually started coming back.
What the hell is going on? You said that you got permission from them. You weren't going to barbecue at someone's house without their permission, were you?
They were on our side. Surprisingly, the area quickly devolved into chaos. They started yelling at each other and throwing food and yelling.
Are you serious?
Don't do this in our house!
They were both yelling at the random people to stop, but no one was listening. They had no idea what to do. Then the mother-in-law showed up randomly for some reason. She followed us, apparently. My sister-in-law was already pretty pissed off about the whole thing with the barbecue, but... Oh, come on! They all came to the barbecue! Why don't we all just barbecue? Yomiko is so stingy. She had to say something and the area was sent spiraling into further chaos. My sister-in-law opened her eyes wide and said, "Shut up! Shut your face! You weren't even invited, and you have no right to invite anyone! Get the hell off my lawn!" She yelled at her mother and grabbed a smoldering piece of charcoal and smacked her across the hand with it. She seemed to be genuinely surprised by a pissed-off sister-in-law and... "What's gotten into you? Come on, simmer down, dear. Sorry for calling you stingy." Suddenly, became more tame. You could tell that she was still furious but suddenly grinned. "Oh, it's okay. Like you said, I'm so stingy. Unfortunately, I'm not going to prepare anything for you ever again. So please, go home now. Yes, and don't think you're invited to the next one. Or the next one. Why wouldn't I, right? I'm cheap." "Until when?" "Never! Or until one of us drops dead!" She just didn't give them a chance to say anything back. She chased off my mother-in-law. "Don't say that, come on! I won't say you're ugly or anything more. That's all? You're not going to call me ugly, cheap?" She tried to figure out what not to say and... "Whoa, how you have a bad personality and stuff? Who told you what I said anyway? Yamada? Tamura?" She once again blew up. "You were saying these things to neighbors? I don't believe it!" She was panicking. "I promise I won't say anything. Please, just let it all go." She was desperate. I was feeling really bad for her. My sister-in-law must have been holding back so much. "Okay, bye. Don't ever come again." She chased her out of the yard and locked the entrance. "Yomiko!" You could hear her voice from over the fence, but she ignored it and started walking back to the chaos. By the way, her husband was trying to get rid of his brother's wife, so he didn't even know what was going on over here. Reiko said, "I've done nothing wrong. I didn't go into your house, so you shouldn't be bitching so much." To the husband, she was clearly still aggressive. Then my sister-in-law showed up and yelled, "Enough! This is our property. You're not allowed to enter someone's property without their permission." Off the top of her lungs. Her friends, "Oh, I'm so sorry for this. I really didn't know that she had no permission. Please at least accept our food." We're all pretty apologetic and confused as well. "It's okay, we don't need it. Go ahead and take it with you." She told them it was fine because it wasn't their fault. You could hear Reiko off to the side. "What the hell are you talking about illegal? You're not even the police!" Whining away. Her friends kept apologizing and... "Damn it! You've embarrassed me! Dragged a complaining and upset Reiko out of the yard. Oh my god! Let's go! It was all pretty terrible, but the nice part was that the nephews were both completely out from field day. They didn't have to see any of it. They went inside to wait for the barbecue but passed out on the couch. Ew! Where's your house? I want to go hang out. Tell me. Come on. By the way, the mother-in-law and Reiko were both too crazy, so my sister-in-law moved about a year ago to a different city. She, of course, didn't tell them where she moved to. Yeah, later. However, they followed her back after the field day and were upset about the fact that their house was found out. She accidentally told them where their kids went to school.
Don't tell Mum and Reiko where our kids go to school.
Oh, whoops. My sister-in-law would complain. I wonder if they're gonna show up again. About them occasionally.
I'll chase them off. Don't worry.
But my sister-in-law was still a little worried.
I'm sorry for always causing you a headache because of my family. I'd be upset too.
He was trying to see how she felt. Then she said, I'm not upset. I was able to tell them everything I was thinking, so I felt a lot better actually.
What? Why'd you look upset then?
I was upset that I couldn't chuck the smoldering charcoal at Reiko. I couldn't help but laugh. She looked pretty empty for a little while after that, but hey, there's a really big sale at Tanabata department store. What? Okay, I want to go. I was also pretty happy about the fact that she made Reiko and my mother-in-law eat it. Hi, I am Mariko. I live with my husband and my daughter who goes to kindergarten. I have two mom friends, Kikoku and Chiyo, who take their kids to the same school. The three of us who had kids prepared for entrance exams to famous elementary schools held regular tea and lunch gatherings under the guise of exchanging information. I wasn't interested though. The restaurants they always invited me to were overpriced, and I didn't want to pay a lot of money to go to a gathering I didn't enjoy. But if our kids pass the entrance exam, I'll continue to be friends with the moms who will be at the same elementary school. I thought I had to get along with them, so I was friendly with them only on the surface. It's dirty over here too. I have to clean it well. One day I was working part-time cleaning at a home improvement center when a familiar voice approached me, speaking in some loud voice. Oh, hi Mariko. Oh, Kikoku, Chiyo, hi. Hello Mariko, cleaning in a place like this? Wait. Do you work part-time here? Yes, well... Your kid is about to take an entrance exam for a famous elementary school and you're working here? Ah, but we all need money, don't we? Kikoku, we can't tell her what to do. It's tough for Mariko too. Uh-huh. You're right. Looks like you're going through a hard time too. I'm sorry we made you attend those expensive teas and lunches. I'll be more considerate from now on. You don't have to come. They left the place, talking in whispers to each other. They weren't nice people to begin with, but I had a feeling they were very unpleasant. My instincts were right and their behavior towards me became distant ever since, and they no longer invited me for tea or lunch. A few months later, I was invited to participate in a one-day family bus trip for a kindergarten event. There, I was treated badly by the mom friend in a way I will never forget. Oh, Mom, I spilled my juice. It's cold. Oh, no. Why not have them stop at the next rest stop and get her to change clothes? I'm sure everyone would love to take a bathroom break. Yes, that would be great, thank you. I'll let the principal know that you will be a little late to get back on. Thank you. She's always been cold and distant, but I was grateful to Kikoku for this one time. When we arrived at the rest stop, I hurried to buy clothes for my daughter to change in. From there, we headed for the bus, but I couldn't find the bus we were on. So I called Kikoku. Hello, Kikoku? I can't find a bus. Where are you right now? Oh no, you took too much time so the bus already left. What? but I came back as soon as I could. Still, there are limits. There's nothing we can do. You told the principal, didn't you? Of course I did. I see. Okay. Hey Mom, what's wrong? Well, I guess we got left behind. Left behind? Yes, honey. Let's take the train home. Train? Okay. We had no choice but to call a cab to take us to the nearest station and went home on a 4-hour train ride. My daughter fortunately seemed to enjoy the train ride, which was the only saving grace. Later that day, I called the principal. No matter the reason, on top of having everyone suddenly take the rest stop on the way. I missed the ride, so I had to apologize. Principal, I apologize for any inconvenience that I caused on the bus trip. Oh, it must have been tough for you. It was a surprise to hear your daughter got sick. I was so sorry to hear that you had to cancel your trip halfway through even though it was a great opportunity. And it was in the countryside, so it must have been hard to get home, right? I asked Kikoku so many times if it was really okay to send a bus. What? Is that so? I'm sorry for causing you worry. I was set up by my mom friend. The principal knew how difficult it would be to get home from there. She even checked with Kikoku until the very end, and yet, after that, when I met my mom friends, we only exchanged a few words, which was only just a greeting. With what they did to me, I didn't want to get involved anymore. And on the day of the entrance exam for the famous elementary school, I came face to face with that mom friend. Oh, Mariko, you're really taking the entrance exam, huh? What do you mean? Well, this elementary school looks at the status of the parents, you know. Your husband's just a regular employee, right? My husband is the head of the department. It's totally a different level of respectability. Besides, Mariko works part-time cleaning at a home improvement center, right? I don't know if it's a good status for a parent. Your child must have passed then. Oh no, don't say that yet. Right? They're just about to take the exam. Anyway, it's a tearful story that you really took the entrance exam under such an unfavorable circumstance. Kikoku, let's get going. Yeah, Mariko. Have a nice day then. The mom friends said whatever they wanted, but I held back because I wanted to focus on getting through the entrance exam. And on the day of the exam results, my daughter and I went to see the exam numbers as they were posted at the elementary school, and there were those moms again. Oh, Mariko, hi. Kikoku's face looked a little pale. She doesn't seem to be in her usual dashing mood. Kikoku, congratulations on passing. Oh, this is a famous elementary school, so it's very difficult to get in, I guess. Huh? Looks like we didn't get accepted this time. Your child couldn't pass either, right? I haven't looked at it yet, but, Ooh! Mom, there's my number. Really? Whoa! You're right! Yay! You did it! Great job! The mom friends who were watching us looked shocked. Why? How can a daughter of a regular employee and a part-time janitor get accepted? Isn't this some kind of mistake? About my husband, he's retired from his position as a regular employee and will soon become the managing director from that home improvement company. What? My father was the president of a home improvement company, and my husband became the next president as son-in-law. My husband will soon be appointed as the managing director. And as his wife, I thought I would like to know the current state of that home improvement center, which is why I started working part-time there. So you were the daughter of that big home improvement company. So it's not like you didn't have any money? Yes, I didn't mean to hide it, but... Anyway, congratulations. Kikoku said this and quickly left as if to flee. Kikoku, who always looked down on those around her in a pompous manner, seemed to think that she would naturally pass the exam as well. She told everyone around her that she was going to attend a famous elementary school next year. It seemed that it became difficult for her to participate in gatherings with her other mom friends, and after that, I never saw her again. A few months later, when my daughter settled in school, we went to visit a large facility a bit far from our hometown. There I met Kikoku by chance. Marco! Oh, you were working at this pharmacy. Hello? When I said that, she ran away awkwardly, and I don't think my value decreases no matter where I work. I hope Kikoku would work with confidence and not judge people by her small values.
Thank you for watching all the way to the end. What did you think of today's episode? Leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on today's story. And if you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe!